Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2018, the first ESL Disruptors Conference held here at the Center for Social Innovation, Annex. My name is Luke, and I'm happy to be your MC for this special event. I'd like to start by thanking Judy Thompson and Anesh Daya for who they have organized this conference, as well as all of those who are joining us here today at CSI and those who are joining us as part of our streaming of this event online. The purpose of putting together the ESL Disruptors Conference is to explore what is working in the ESL field and what we can be doing better. 10 years ago, many people in the industry were shocked at the claim that the system of educating English as a second language, as we know it, is broken. Now, this is known. And it is our mission at today's conference, and conferences we hope to host in the future, to discuss what is broken, and importantly, the steps we can take moving forward. Before we introduce our panel of speakers today and officially get started, it would now be my honor to conduct a land reading. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we are hosting this event is located on the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. This territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, which became the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. Today, this meeting place of Toronto, from the Haudenosaunee word Toronto, is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to be in this place. For this conference, we have 4 panel guests. It's exciting, and it's my pleasure to introduce them, and I think that we have a good spread of different guest speakers today. We have Anesh Daya, an experiential language edupreneur. We also have Elizabeth Verwey, a small business guru and business coach. We have James Rice, an ed tech pioneer. And last but not least, of course, we have Judy Thompson, a content queen. For the first of our panel speakers, I'd like to introduce and bring up Anesh Daya, founder and CEO of On the Spot Language, who has been teaching, managing, and developing English as a second language in Taiwan and Canada since 2001. In 2009, he took his love of language learning and frustration with the ESL industry and started On the Spot Language, an innovative, experiential English language immersion program which he developed to help students effectively use their English outside the classroom. On the Spot Language has won several awards, including the Jusur Disruptors Lab competition for his newcomer program. In 2017, last year, students voted it Best ESL School in Toronto. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Anesh Daya.
Thank you, Luke, also known as Coach Luke. It's part of On the Spot Language. Number one, I'd really like to thank everyone for coming in person, and also to you lovely folks online. Just to get a good, nice close-up of me here. My name is Anesh Daya, and I'm happy and I'm very excited that you could join us. And thank you, Chrissy, behind the camera, for all your work. So how did this all start? I'm going to get into a little bit about that. I'm also going to be speaking about what it's like, life as an edupreneur, all the struggles that I've had to go through to get to this point and where I'm going, and what it means to be a language coach. How do we go from there? So, I always like to look at this from time to time, just because I like to. So if you want to be successful in this world, you have to follow your passion, not a paycheck. This really resonates very strong with me, simply for the fact that I strongly believe in everything I'm doing is built on who I am and all of my experiences. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I even created this on-the-spot language program, which is built on my passions, and in the end developing a quality service that, it's not about having 15 students in a class and having all that money come in, but yeah, following your passions. So gonna get into that. So, was an entrepreneur and language coaching. So a little bit about me. This province here, Saskatchewan, that's where I'm from. Best known for the prairies and a lot of wheat growing. And so I'm from a very small town. And we use words like bunny hug, which means hoodie. In case you guys don't know that, the word bunny hug in Saskatchewan means hoodie. And so coming from a small town and coming to Toronto was a culture shock. I would go on the streetcar. I go, hey, how's it going, man? They'd look at me, they're like, why are you talking to me, right? You get it, right? And they're like, what do you want from me? I'm just like, I just want to have a conversation. What's wrong with that? So coming from a small town, coming to Toronto, my initial reaction to the big city was just, geez, these people are cold. Why are people in Toronto so cold? But as you'll come to hear soon is, it's one of the best places to learn English in the world, and a lot of people are actually more friendly than you think. So come to Toronto and study English. So here, a little bit about who I am. So I used to be a tennis coach. I was not a language coach, and I used to teach tennis professionally for 2 years. So I love being outdoors. One of my passions, being outdoors. I went to college. I didn't go to university, and I got a diploma in multimedia production and design technician course. What does that mean, right? Well, I became a multimedia specialist. I love computers, I love technology, and so they're almost contrast. One is outdoors, and I could be outdoors all day, sunrise to sunset, but then at the same time I could be on a computer all day. And so after doing that, after graduating and after working a little bit in multimedia, like many people, we travel. Including James Rice, he was in Japan, and I went to Taiwan. That's the symbol for beautiful, May, right? And so when I went to Taiwan, that's where a lot of transition happened, and probably has happened for a lot of people. I went there, I was 21, didn't know the language, couldn't speak a word, and everything that I had to learn and needed to learn, I learned. So when you're on the streets and you're asking, excuse me, that looks really good. Do you mind if I ask what you're eating? They're like, well, I don't know what you're saying. Excuse me. That looks... Just give me a second. So basically, I would say, I would use my body language because I didn't have the functional language to use in that situation. So I learned how to say that. 这个看起来像那么好吃. That looks really good. 你在吃什么东西? What are you eating? So by traveling, by language learning, after 6 months, I was speaking Mandarin. But it was all based on a need-to-know basis. I learned what I needed to learn. And that experience then brought me back to Toronto. And similar to James Rice, what are we doing? What are we going to do now, right? It's a story that really hit home because I wanted to find a job in multimedia again. But that's when that big .com burst happened, that boom. And everyone who had a job in multimedia no longer did. So what am I going to do? Oh, I'll get a job in an ESL school. Maybe I can teach. So I worked several years for a private language school in Toronto, was head teacher there, created all sorts of innovative, creative programs, classes. We had just a class, it was called Slangman, based on a book by David Burke. I created a Seinfeld sitcom class where we would just take idioms and lines. One person was Kramer and one person was Jerry. I had fun, again, doing what I love, which was, Seinfeld. And there's another program I started called, the school's name in Idol, like a singing competition. And again, it's another way of bringing my passion into what I love doing. So then there came a time where, after 5 years of working there, you know what, Anesh? We can no longer have you on board. What do you mean you can no longer have me on board? Well, apparently now the system says that you don't have a degree. You're no longer qualified to teach here. I go, I'm head teacher though. What do you mean I'm not qualified to teach here? And they're like, well, you don't have a degree. You have a TESOL certificate, but you don't have a degree. So unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go. And then I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh, geez, well, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't have a degree. Is anyone else going to hire me? Who else would see this kind of passion and energy and enthusiasm and hire me? I don't have a degree. Messaged a bunch of schools, didn't hear anything, and then I sent a message to Connect. And I found James Rice. And that's where a little part of my journey that I met him. That was 11 years ago almost. And he brought me on board. And, from there, I was able to meet someone who had just as much fun as learning English as I did, and teaching it. I would see him in different classrooms going in and out saying, hey, how's it going? Every student knew his name. He was a director of the school, everyone knew his name. I go, well, you know what, that's pretty cool. I ask students when they join our program, I go, do you know the name of your director? They go, no. But everyone knew James, right? And so part of that made me think, maybe there's something to really having a really good personal connection with the students. And so after that little stint with James, I went on and I applied to try and start my own business. And so there was an organization called the Toronto Business Development Center, which is where Elizabeth was working at the time. Ta-da! There you go, she just showed up. Right on the spot. Good timing there. Elizabeth just showed up, just so you guys know. And so I actually had to pitch my business idea, which was, well, I like to take students out. And this is how I've learned other languages as an adult. So maybe I'll try and pitch an idea of starting my own business. So I went there and I pitched it and I got accepted into this program, which takes you for a year and shows you how to create a name, a logo, create a business plan by the end of it all. And so after a year of mentorship with Miss Elizabeth Verway, I was on my own in the scary world of entrepreneurship. And boy, oh boy, I was like, okay, well, I gotta figure out now, how much do I charge, and tax, and receipts, and am I putting myself on payroll? What? It's a lot to figure out. And so, at that time, I kind of thought, well, you know what? How did I learn a language? And I'm gonna apply this in my business. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna take students out, I'm gonna create my pricing, and then I gotta market out of it and try and meet students. And so I would meet people at Yonge and Bloor Station, and the Starbucks, and wherever I could, and I would meet them with a trial lesson and do it on the spot outside at Yonge and Bloor. I was there for 3-4 years, every Wednesday. I was outside doing these trial lessons, trying to meet students. And so, let's continue. So a big thing with how I started my program is we didn't touch a grammar book. We basically said, you know what, I'm going to teach you some useful sentences that you need today. Or maybe I'll teach you 10 to 15 of them, but you know what you're going to do? You're going to choose what's useful for you, and you're going to focus on that. So we didn't touch a grammar book, and we didn't have students thinking about grammar. And so a lot of ESL schools, when you ask students to repeat a sentence or try and have a conversation, they're thinking in grammar all the time. So how do you stop that? How do you make it subconscious? Which is the end goal. You want them to naturally be able to speak. And so we took grammar right out of it, and so to give you a little taste or an idea of, putting yourself on the spot, I'm actually going to grab one of you guys from the audience, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I can't grab you guys online, unfortunately. I'd love for you to be here, but I'm going to teach you a sentence in another language, and let's see how well you can do it. Who would like to come? Elizabeth's turning her head. All right, Barbara, thank you. Yay, Barbara! Not that Barbara has much of a choice here. So to the world, this is Barbara.
Hi, world.
Suddenly, today, she is one of my students. You're going to learn a language that I actually don't know, and I do speak several languages. And it's going to be a sentence in Japanese. Okay, do you speak any Japanese?
No.
Not at all. Okay, so I was recently in Okinawa, and I wanted to find the nearest beach. So I learned the sentence, where would I find the nearest? Where would I find the nearest? Okay, so for example, in English, could you give me a sentence? In English.
Any sentence?
Any sentence. We're using the sentence pattern, where would I find the nearest?
And you want me to complete the end?
Yes, you got it.
Where would I find the nearest drugstore?
Where would I find the nearest drugstore? Perfect. Now let's do this in Japanese. Okay. So I didn't know this sentence, but Okinawa has a lot of beautiful beaches. So I said, yeah, it's gorgeous. You have to check it out. So the hotel I was staying in, I asked the front desk, 一番近いはどこですか? Is that right? Yeah, okay, yeah. 一番近いはどこですか? Simple sentence. Just where would I find the nearest, right? Clearly that's easy, right? All right. And we're going to have Barbara repeat. 一番近いはどこですか? So let's take out let's take out and let's add in beach. All right, let's check it out.
Oh, what?
Alright. So the sentence is 一番近いはどこですか?
Ichiban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So she got ichiban, which means number one. So this is one sentence. One sentence, right? Just where would I find the nearest? You're a teacher as well, an educator. How many hours a day do you teach?
Oh, right now, I don't anymore.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I used to. Well, it ranged from 6 to 12 hours a day.
6 to 12 hours a day. So Barbara was very, very busy. And you probably gave the students a lot of content.
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to do with you now, I'm going to break it down.
Okay.
I'm just going to break it down here. All right, so we're going to say, 一番近い.
一番近い.
Yeah, so 一番近い beach は
一番近い.
近い.
近い.
一番近い
一番近い.
beach は
ビーチは
どこですか?
どこですか?
Yeah, so どこですか just means where it is. We're not even close to down here, all right? We're going to keep going, Barbara. So
I'll be
一番
fluent in Japanese by the end of this conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So all you need is to substitute, you know, the with wa. So 一番近い Starbucks は
Oh.
どこですか? So 一番近い
一番近い Starbucks は
どこですか?
どこですか?
Okay, let's try another one. Let's try that again. Could you please say that again?
一番近い
近い
Wi-
近い So 一番近い
一番近い Starbucks
は
は
どこですか?
どこですか?
So let's say, what's another? So subway station what? So let's just assume we don't know any vocabulary, and most people can understand Starbucks and Subway and whatever else. What's another place that we could say?
Supermarket.
Supermarket. Good on. Okay. So 一番近い
一番近い Supermarket は
どこですか?
どこですか?
Good. Okay, now let's see if you can make a fluid sentence on your own, and you're just going to tap me on the shoulder.
But I can't.
And so 一番近い supermarket はどこですか? So 一番近い
一番近い Supermarket
は
は
どこですか? Now, 一番近い supermarket はどこですか? And you're just going to tap on my shoulder and say すみません. Like, excuse me, すみません. すみ
すみ
ません.
すみません
すみません. Close enough? Yeah. すみません. すみません.
Okay すみません
Yeah.
一番近い Supermarket は
どこですか?
どこですか?
Okay, let's try it. You can take the mic.
Okay how do you say excuse me again?
Yeah, すみません.
Okay
すみませ
so
ん.
すみません
One more
Sir?
time. Let's do it for the camera.
Okay, hi, camera. Hi,
Okay,
okay.
okay, go ahead.
Okay すみません
Yeah.
一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか?
Okay, so that's good. No. So the idea here is now she's doing it in her own intonation, right? The Japanese language is very somewhat monotone. So 一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか? So hey, 一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか? No, they don't talk like that, right? So the intonation now, step one is learning the sentence pattern, right? So 一番すいません。一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか? So just you don't have to throw in the Brazilian flair or anything like that. Just
I won't like
try to be
that.
as monotone as possible.
Alright, okay,
Alright,
so
すみません。すみません。すみません。
すみません
Yeah.
一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか?
Pretty good. Right? 一番近いスーパーマーケットはどこですか? So let's change it up. So could you come here? So I'm going to provide you with full immersion right now. And we're not in Japan,
Okay.
but this is as close as you're going to get. I say hello to the camera. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi,
Her
world.
name is Hi World, yeah. This is I, as in AI. Okay, and we have Barbara. So you're going to look this way. You're going to look that way. And then Barbara's going to suddenly ask you a question, okay? You can just respond in Japanese. You don't have to use your English, no pressure. You can just suddenly answer in Japanese. You should go, oh, okay, hi, and that's it. Hi just means how, or yes, okay. Hi. So
すみません一番近い Starbucks どこですか?
okay, let's try it again. Again, turn around. Starbucks.
Wow, I forgot the one.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay. すみません一番近い Starbucks はどこですか?
一番近いスタバックスはまっすぐ行って、
Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
So, but she got the body language, right?
It's over there.
It's right over there. Oh, hi.
I would go that way, but I don't know how to find it.
Okay, thank you, hi. So we're not done with you yet. So, stay here for a second, Barbara. So, could you give me 2 more examples that you would probably use? So you have supermarket. What else would you use? One more time. Hotel. In Japanese, it's hoteru, which is great. So perfect. So 一番近いホテルどこですか？ホテルはどこですか？ right? ホテルはどこですか？すみません。
すみません。
Yeah.
一番近いホテルはどこですか？
Yeah, good.
I still do the da-da-da-da,
Yeah.
like I'm asking something. Yeah. I'll improve that, teacher. Sorry.
Could you please say that again? 一番近い
一番近い
ホテルは
ホテルは
どこですか？
どこですか？
Okay, repeat that again.
一番
近い
近いホテル
は
は
どこ
どこですか？
So, there are how many parts in that sentence? 一番近い Starbucks はどこですか? Maybe 4 parts.
4 parts.
Let's try that again. 一番近い Starbucks はどこですか? Good. Okay, so imagine doing this sentence for 1.5, 2 hours, and we just went outside, assuming we're in Japan, and doing this again and again and
You
again.
get this. You get
You
the
would
pattern,
you would
right?
get the pattern.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what did you write down?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. How powerful is that? What do you do usually in class with you? Write it on the board.
Yeah.
They write it down.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, now you two practice together, and you two practice together. But they've already written it down, so they've already seen the language. But you haven't seen anything, but you've used it. And I can guarantee you, in the future when you do go to Japan, you will remember this sentence. But imagine if I were to test you on this tomorrow. Do you think you'd remember it?
I don't know.
It would, you could probably guess, probably yes, depending on how much more I taught you. Do you feel that's probably enough for today? Or do you think you could learn maybe 20 more sentences?
I think that would be okay.
Right.
If I want to perfect that.
So that's the key. She just said, if I want to perfect that. She said, this one sentence, just this one sentence was good enough. But that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, Barbara, fantastic. So thank you for being on the spot. You were amazing. And now everybody knows 一番近いはどこですか, which is where would I find the nearest? All right, that was amazing. So this goes back to what I was just saying. What have you taught today? You know, every time I meet a new student and I ask them, you know, what did you learn today? What did you learn today? As an educator, what did you teach today? I can clearly say exactly what I taught, and I know exactly what my students have learned. And that's very, very powerful. And so it goes back to what I was saying about time. Most students are spending 5-6 hours a day learning English. Barbara just said she was tired after this one sentence, and that was enough. She said, you know what, I'm done. I'm just gonna go home and practice. Or maybe you might go outside and ask people just randomly, where would I find the nearest Starbucks? You'll find all the Starbucks in Japan. But I spent, how long did I spend with you? 10, 15 minutes? I know that's something Judy feels powerful, strongly about too. How much time do they really need to be spending to learn what they need to learn? So think about how much time you're spending on teaching, how much are they actually grasping on what you're doing. So Barbara learned the sentence, and hopefully that'll stick, and I'll test you later on. And so for me, a lot of our students are international students studying here. Time is money. But a lot of these students are registering for 6, 7, 8 months in a course. But when really, do they need to be spending that long learning in a traditional sit-down based classroom? I don't think so. I think if they've been shown the methodology of how to learn a language and they've been coached on that, students can save a lot of time and money and spend more time on actually practicing what they're learning. So something that I always like to talk about is, your value proposition. What are you selling to students? When I meet a student, they might ask me, well, and this is really key as an entrepreneur. When I started out my business, people ask me, why should I join your program, Anish? Why are you so special? Why are you so different than other schools? Well, I could clearly say that, but when I meet a student, they go, why did you join your school? They go, my agency recommended. What? What do you mean? You didn't do any research on your own? You didn't look it up and find out anything about the school? And the schools are selling, well, join our school because you can meet people from all over the world. Great. So can you do that at every other school? Well, that's not the right reason to be joining a program, is it? I don't think so. And so, what is your actual value? I know for us at On the Spot Language, it's providing a real-life experiential learning program and providing authentic learning experiences for our students. So, what are some common questions that your students are asked? And this goes back to what are you teaching? Let's have another on-the-spot situation here. Let's bring back I. All right, I. Okay, there we go. So we have I here. You can grab the microphone there, I. You can say hello to everyone again. Hey everyone, this is I. It's already on. Talk.
Hi.
There you go. All right, now she's shy. Now, this is the ultimate on the spot, by the way. So come here. So when we talk about what we're teaching and how we're teaching it and how we're coaching it, usually when students go outside, many people would ask them, oh, so how long are you here for? Where are you from? Where are you visiting? So before you started on the spot language, let's just give an example of what you used to say. Okay, so, hey, I'm just curious, how long are you here for?
1 year half.
1 year half. Okay, but how long have you been here?
4 months.
4 months.
4
right?
months.
Not 4 months, 4 months, right? Okay, but so when do you go back?
Next October.
Okay, this is a boring conversation. Jeez. Come on. So this is not effective communication. It's like question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. I'm just like, it's like pulling teeth. It's just like, oh, it's driving me crazy. It's like, I've already lost interest in even having a conversation with her, but I'm just curious. Suddenly, whoosh, new I. Look at the camera. You can talk to the people and tell them, so how long are you here for? And give me good body language. Okay, talk to the camera.
I'm currently here for roughly a year and a half, and I've now been here for just over 4 months, and I go back to Japan next October.
Ta-da! So, if anyone on the street were to hear that, they're like, what, that's pretty good. She learned that in the first week. And yet I meet students who have been here 5-6 months, and they still can't even answer that basic question. And that drives me crazy. So could you please see that again for the audience? How long have you been here? Go ahead, let's try it again.
I'm currently here for roughly a year and a half, and I've now been here for just over 4 months, and I go back to Japan next October.
Okay, great. And how many times have you used this sentence? 5, 10, how many?
I'm not sure. How many? Too many to count?
Too many to count. Good answer. Yeah, that's the perfect answer. Too many to count. And so she's never written the sentence down, but she remembers it. Why? Because she's used it just like Barbara did, again and again and again, and she was coached on it, just like you were. Thank you, I. Yay! It's turned into a teaching lesson. This is great. So it goes back to what I was saying. We're coaching, coaching on a sentence is so powerful. And I know we go outside and everything, but you can actually do this and still be effective in the classroom. This is something Luke and I also feel very strongly about. You can actually coach students in the classroom without writing anything down, without a grammar textbook. And if you keep them engaged and not, falling asleep, they can learn that sentence day 1, day 2. But is that sentence useful for her? Damn right. Every single person, she goes outside, they're going to ask one of 3 questions. Oh, so where are you from? Oh, how long are you here for? Oh, how do you like Toronto so far? 3 basic questions. But if she can easily do that in the first week of our program, I don't know why students are spending 6 months in a school and they still can't functionally use that kind of sentence. So this goes back to what I was saying. You could be sitting down, but most students are at their desk and they're falling asleep. They're not engaged. When you're up and you're out with the fresh air, getting that oxygen, and the blood is flowing in your skin, under your skin, not in it, the brain is working and it's absorbing a lot more. And so even just as a coach, when I'm outside, like again, taking my passion of teaching tennis, when you're outside and you're in the fresh air and you're coaching, people are learning. And you're standing up, you're not sitting down. So active learning is so important. And I really like this quote, learning is an active process. We learn by doing. Only knowledge that is used sticks in your mind. I see people in the audience going, yeah, that's right, I get it, yeah. Luke, what do we say? I'm gonna put you on the spot. You can say it to the camera all the time. What would you say to this in terms of how you feel? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in English, there's this old expression that everyone knows that if you don't use it, you lose it. Yes, you lose it. So if it's not useful, you're not going to use it, and everything that as you said, that you're in hours in the class, quote-unquote learning, will, even if you're able to produce it successfully on that test, because it wasn't useful, you're not going to use it, and kind of reminds me of my own university days, but I mean, we've all been there, but yeah, you forget it pretty much right after the test is written.
Yeah, and there's a great analogy Luke always uses, and now it's kind of become part of what I say. What is it about driving a car?
Yeah, I like to tell people it's the way that we teach language is kind of like, okay, well, I want to learn, it's kind of like driving a car. So if you wanted to learn how to drive a car, the way that we're doing it right now is by teaching mechanics and teaching the inner workings of a car, approaching language learning kind of like a science. In order to learn how to speak the language or to use the language, you have to understand it on a deep level. And so I tend to have this kind of role-playing video that I really want to make in the future, where a bright student in the middle of a class throws up the hand and says, "Teacher, I'm so sorry to interrupt your lesson with grammar. It is really interesting. I just want to ask you, how did you learn English? Did you go to school?" And then the teacher would be a little surprised, like, "Okay, Yuki, I didn't. That's a good question. I didn't go to school to learn English." And then the Yuki would either say or just think, "Well, then why am I here? If you are my role model, you're so amazing at English that you can actually teach people, but you didn't go to school, then obviously you learned in a way that didn't require you to go to school." So, yeah, that's kind of what we firmly believe in, and that's the basis of on-the-spot language in a nutshell, is to teach only practical, useful English and to really engage them in the public and make that, introduction to the Torontonian or Canadian, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have a seat right there, actually. I may put you on the spot in a second.
All right, I'll stand by for that.
Putting a lot of people on the spot today, thank you. He's a lot more than just an MC.
Thanks.
So a big thing, again, and I am going to get back to my entrepreneurial journey now I became an edupreneur. I will get to that. But goal setting is so important. This goes back to how I coached you, Barbara. I'm like, well, maybe Barbara just wants to find all the Starbucks. in Toronto. And that's her goal. She loves hanging around Starbucks. I know a lot of people in many countries, I'm going to find the Starbucks and get my iPad and my computer and just sit there. Addicted to coffee, there you go. Barbara just said it. So goal setting with our students is so important. From the moment they join our program, we get a good idea of what they want to do, what do they want to achieve. And in that time, you know, I could just think about the amount of times a student has asked me, well, I don't know what my goals are, I don't know what to do. I go, okay, well, what are you interested in? What are your passions? You know, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I like fashion. I like dressing up. And I said, okay. Now the coach comes in and says, okay, let's type this out. So you like fashion. So what kind of fashion? Vintage clothing. I said, okay, you like vintage clothing, great. Here's what we're gonna do. We set up a full action plan for her. You're gonna go to St. Lawrence Market, you're gonna visit X amount of vintage clothing shops, you're gonna ask specific questions. Excuse me, why did you start this store? Just with a random survey, we'll teach them how to do that. And what you're also gonna do is you're gonna also find other fashionable people in Toronto, and you're gonna take their picture. You go, I can't. No, I can't. No, you are, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to give you the language to be able to do that. So she complimented people every day, 10 people. Excuse me, I really like your jacket. You mind if I ask where you got it? Yeah, I'm really into vintage clothing shopping, and oh, where are you from? And it starts a conversation. So, I think that was Mikako, right? So part of that action plan for her, she's like, I want to show all of my friends where I'm going. I said, okay, you know what? You're going to create a blog. She's like, blog? What's that? A lot of people, even we know, don't know how to create a blog. So you know what? I don't even know. So we're going to create a blog. We created a fashion blog for her. She interviewed different vintage store clothing shops. She typed it out in English and Japanese because she wants all of her friends to be able to understand as well. Corrected it. And then by the end of it, she had 10 different vintage clothing shop owners, stores and owners that she had interviewed. So she's going to go back to her country. What is she going to remember? That experience. She achieved her goal. She didn't even know what her goal was. But as a coach, that's what we do. We try and pry out, what do you really want to achieve? And as most people here know, you know, can you actually do that with 15, 20 students in a class? No. So how can you do that? And this is why, you know, we also have a 1-to-3 ratio. We're able to coach students. But can you give one example of one of your students' goals that you've made with them and what they wanted to do?
Yeah, I had a student who worked previously in a travel agency, and in the future she really wants to do tours in Japan in English to foreigners who travel there. One of the things that she wished she had known before, when she was working at a travel agency, was what exactly are the preconceptions, she didn't even know this word of course, of Japanese people before having ever gone to Japan. And if you had gone to Japan, which she asked people, then, you know, how did that change, or what were you surprised by? So she asked questions like, I'm just curious, have you ever been to Japan? And if the answer was no, it was, oh, would you ever like to go there in the future? And if they had gone, she would ask questions like, you know, before having gone there, what are your preconceptions of Japanese people? Preconceptions of Japanese people.
Great.
And she just, you know, she recorded every single conversation. She asked the question, which we love to do.
How do you even do that? How do you go to a stranger and say, can I record your voice? You gotta sign a waiver. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, we give them that sentence, which is, oh, by the way, do you mind if I make a voice memo? I'm not a fluent English speaker, and I want to catch everything you say. And when you say something like that, and just, you know, as I think it's almost like revealing your cards, just showing, you know, who you really are. And
it's for my learning practice.
Yeah, it's just for my own learning practice.
Sure,
yeah, sure.
No problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, so she interviewed, I think it was 25 people in 4 weeks. and gathered all of this information about,
Brilliant.
you know, when people went to Japan, what did they do, and what were they surprised by when they went to Japan, and what did they wish they could do that they didn't get a chance to do.
Great, thanks for sharing that. Great
Pleasure.
story. Yeah, and these are just two stories of thousands and thousands of stories that we have that, you know, we've coached people. So, failure, should say failure, and I failed to correctly type that. Actually, you almost pen on that, Chris. Yeah. So
It's a capital I.
I purposely done that, by the way, and I failed to do that.
All your works.
There you go. It's failure. New kind of. Yeah. So, failure. When we meet students, and even just in my previous school, everyone's like, "Oh wow, you're doing a good job. Good for you. Wow," and giving that positive reinforcement, and that's great. But when are you like, you know what? That was terrible. You don't ever do that. Well, other than Judy, of course. Other than Judy. Well, are you serious? Come on, here we go. Let's do this again. As coaches, we're not your friend. I'm not here to play games. This is your life. These are your goals. I'm going to coach you on what you need to know. Just like Butch Harmon and Tiger Woods. He's not, oh, let's go for coffee and drink. He's coaching them on how to play golf. So, our students have to fail. We, unfortunately, sometimes have students crying in the first week of our program. Have you ever had anyone cry in your class? Yes?
It wasn't my fault.
Wasn't your fault. It should have been your fault. That's hilarious. Yeah. Students need to fall down, because if they fall down again and again and again, but if they're guided by a coach, they can get back up. As an educator, clearly we also fail, but is that really our fault? You know, something Judy told me, which was crazy. We can't blame the teachers. They just don't have the training. So they're set up to fail almost. And that's a great thing, you know, I've taken away from one of the many things Judy has said over the last few months of getting to know her. And as an edupreneur, my God, I can't even tell you how many times the shit has hit the fan. I don't know if I can say that, but yeah. I failed in so many aspects of my business over the last 9 years, and I probably have a lot of stories that I could share with you. And you know, just to be very transparent, a big failure that I've found over the last 4 years of hiring coaches is, you know, failing to give them support. I can support myself. I'm good at running my own business and doing and managing myself. I gotta manage someone else? Oh man, I didn't sign up for this. But this is what being part of an you have to grow. You can be yourself, but you want to bring other people on board with the same amount of passion. And you know, I think I've failed miserably in that, and I think I've been very lucky to have Coach Luke as part of the team to just help scale and grow the business and added so much value. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So failure. 250,000. What does that mean? In the last 9 years, that's how many random strangers we've spoken to. Random strangers we've spoken to outside in the real world. Usually when we meet students for the first time, so how many strangers did you talk to today after class? Or how many native English speakers did you talk to? Homestay. Starbucks. Go. Okay, so you went from home to your school, to Starbucks, to your homestay. Okay. Why are you here again? Why are you in Toronto? What are you doing? Oh, I don't have any Canadian friends. I have no one to speak to. Did you ever get that? Look around you. Every person's an opportunity to speak. They're just not set up or trained on how to do that. But that's a lot of stories. And that's a lot of failures, which really excites us too. So that's a big number. So, who can help me? I can't, oh, it's falling asleep here. Okay, there we go. And we're back. Okay, so just okay, there we go. So, who can help me? I can't do this alone. I'm going to now get back to giving you guys actual value for coming today and talk to you a little bit about what's helped me become a successful entrepreneur. And I don't even know if I'm successful yet, but I've had lots of ups and downs, but we're getting there. So, how can you become an edupreneur? Community. Community is so important. This is one of the reasons why Judy also reached out to me. I belong to this lovely building, the Center for Social Innovation. These are just some examples. I mean, in the last 4 years, we've connected with 26 organizations doing different things with our students in this building alone. Jane's Walk, an amazing organization, which has people give different walks introducing different areas all over the city. People really know the areas and the history and they really connect culturally to that area, and they do a tour of that area with people who sign up for the tour. I go, you know what? They're on the 3rd floor. Maybe one of our students could do a tour. An international student doing a tour about Toronto to other Canadians. What? All right. And the great thing about one of the things we do, we teach culture and history and knowledge of the city. So 3 of our on-the-spotters, they gave their own Jane's Walk tour in Toronto. You know, and there's so many other things. So having a community behind you. For the first 5 years of my business, I was alone, running things out of my home, my condo. But when you have a whole community behind you to support you, you're not alone anymore. I'm here at midnight still burning the midnight oil, and there's like 20 other people around me doing the same thing. And they love what I do. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So having a community is huge. So being part of this community, I met some other people. One of them belongs to a Syrian settlement agency and a group called Welcome Home TO. He's like, I love what you guys are doing with international students. Why aren't you doing this with newcomers in Toronto, with Syrian refugees? I go, well, they don't have any money. Oh, wait a minute, right. I don't care about money. It's about passion, right? I do have passion. Yeah, sure, right. Maybe I can help newcomers. And I say, well, do you think the industry needs this? And this is from lessons from month 13, after Trudeau let in 25,000 amazing newcomers to the country. Need for interactive and engaged learning structure. So for those attending ESL classes, this is from Welcome Home TO's report. For those attending ESL classes, the existing structure requires long hours in class and offers a rigid academic approach as opposed to activity-based training. At a time when language is keeping them from interacting with society and adapting to their new home, however, a more interactive activity-based model would be less frustrating, more enjoyable, and more effective for newcomers. I go, well, that sounds exactly like my program. Jeez. All right. So the owner, I said, why don't you join my class? He's like, okay. Joined it. He's like, yeah. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, you can do this. So they had their own event called Breaking the Language Barrier. I was like, all right, this sounds right up my alley. Innovative language solutions helping Syrian newcomers on the path of integration. Wow, yeah. I'd like to attend that. So I said, okay, let's be part of the event. So I was part of the event. And I surrounded myself in this new environment. And as any edupreneur should do, is always seek new opportunities. And again, community. So after this, I said, all right, let's try and make our communities our classroom. So I had a little pilot project, took 3 Syrian newcomers, took them on the streets of Toronto, and you can go to our newcomer video online to see how they did. But after one day, they spoke to more people, strangers, in one day than an entire year in Canada. What? And that was just me taking them out for one day. They spoke to more strangers in 1 year living in Canada. I go, yeah, maybe there is something here. So we connected with the Arab Community Center and several other organizations who supported us. I reached out and found, fortunately, I was able to connect it as part of my community. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm an edupreneur, but maybe I'm also a social entrepreneur. Dun, 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 dun. I was like, okay, I'm having now a social impact. This is great. Real impact on people who are actually going to make this their new home. And then I was thought to myself, you know what? Maybe this is my new dream. This is my new goal. This is what I want. My parents came here in 1979 from South Africa. They knew English, but they moved to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. But they made that city their home. They integrated. My mom had her own cooking show. She made samosas, all that stuff. Sold little bottles of chutney. But they made the city their home. But English wasn't a problem. And language is still the biggest barrier for them. So I'm hoping to have a more impact with Syrian newcomers, which then comes down to, well, you know what? Maybe I should collaborate. I need some collaboration. So who can I collaborate with? Who can I speak with? How do I find these people? Well, find other people who champion what you do. And so, fortunately, I've been able to reach out to people like Judy Thompson, go back and reaching out to James Rice as well. Find other people who love what you're doing. I recently was also part of a podcast where it was someone reached out and saying, you know what, the podcast is called The Opposite of Lonely. And the whole thing is about talking to strangers. So it was me and this other fellow from an organization called I Talk to Strangers. I go, geez, how did I not start this? His foundation is called I Talk to Strangers. And here I am on a podcast with him, on a podcast called The Opposite of Lonely with Nadia Halim, and I was like, he champions what I do clearly. I'm the living, breathing example of what he's doing. He's just promoting talking to strangers. I do this every day. So finding like-minded people who champion what you do is huge. And that's how I got in contact with Judy, and here we are today. So finding your path. What does your path look like? Mine, it's been a roller coaster. It's been up and down and every twist and turn. And at the end of the day, I've found my passions and made it to here. Still got a long way to go. But finding your path and, is going to look different than mine. And so I encourage you to follow your passion. Start your journey. Maybe it's an edupreneur. Maybe it's a social entrepreneur. But this is my makeup. This is who I am. And this is only going to add more circles as the time goes forward. And so, advice for becoming an edupreneur. Well, for me, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I don't know how many people are, but no matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you progress, you are still way ahead of everyone who isn't trying. And that's the key thing. I find a lot of these other programs just aren't trying. I may be 9 years here, still an organization of 1, 2, 3, but we've made lots of mistakes, but we're still going forward. And that's exactly part of why we're here today, is taking this conversation and moving it forward. So the last thing here is, stop being afraid of what could go wrong and be excited about what could go right. So, thank you. My name is Anesh Daya, and thank you for joining us online, and hopefully you guys will contact us, become an edupreneur, and follow your own path and journey. So thank you.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes. I just wanted to ask you, if anyone here has any questions. Do we have any questions online? No, none yet. Feel free, if you are watching this online, to post any questions in the live chat. and we will possibly get to them. We do have one question from Judy Thompson. Just give me 1 second.
Actually, I have 2 questions. How many languages do you speak? It's a tiny question.
So over the years, through immersion and family and learning language as an adult, I can get by fairly well in 7. And you know, languages are a form of communicating and meeting and connecting with other people. It's so powerful.
So you learn by doing, and then you share that process with others. That's question 1.
Yeah.
The other one, what about financially? Were you able to get any grants, or how do you get money when you're starting from zero?
Yeah, so starting from zero was really starting from zero and taking a big risk from not having anything and saying, you know what? I was charging $3,000 a month for 1 student. So if I could just get 1 student a month, I think I can survive. That's how I started out. That was a 5-hour-a-day class. But it's selling your value at the end of the day. And so I was fortunate that through Welcome Home TO and other organizations from a newcomer program, we presented, and you know, we won a grant for that, which helped me produce this amazing video that we now have online to showcase and pilot our newcomer program. And I'm hoping that that will now spread, and hopefully we can grow that part of the business. But I think there's something I always say to students, you know, there's a dollar store, and then there's like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Are you gonna buy your winter jacket at the Dollarama? No. So, sometimes, some people, yeah. But I wouldn't. So I would want to pay for something that's high quality product. And if you can charge for that, people will see that. And so for me, Judy, it's been valuing who I am, valuing myself, and valuing what I'm teaching. And so I've been able to charge almost, I think, double what most other schools charge, but the difference is we're definitely producing results, and that's the key. Yeah, great question, thank you.
Anesh,
James,
it's a great, wonderful story, and your journey is amazing. I have a question. One of the common concerns teachers have is overcorrection. I don't want to correct my students too much because it's going to hurt their confidence. Or in teacher training, they'll say, you know what, leave the correction at the end of the class. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think that's the difference when we have a distinction between a teacher and a coach. I almost feel because you are labeled or you are a coach, our students expect, actually James, our students are joining my program because they are getting that right in their face. They don't want that, oh wow, you're doing great, look, level up. Wow, look, your level's gone up. Really? Let's take you outside and have a real conversation. Then let's see how you feel about level up. You know, it's a great question. I know Luke will probably have 1 minute to share about this.
Yeah, I think you've spoken earlier about the importance of failure, and I guess it's a reality check. So I think that support is what a language coach, or any coach for that matter, is in a nutshell. So although we are pushing, and sometimes we'll say, you know, could you say that again? I think you dropped the ball on that one. Of course, it is with support, and we know that people who are new to a country don't have the tools they need to communicate, and coach seems, you know, that the person who's going to be their language parent, the person that's going to be supportive to them, is ultimately what they need.
So do you find that we just correct them too much, though? Is there such thing?
I think for my perspective in a nutshell is that every time you say a sentence, it is practicing it. So I'd rather that practice to be correct. We tend to focus on less content and more production of that, more, you know, rehearsal and practice of that, don't we?
I think usage and constant repetition of "Ichiban chikai Starbucks wa doku desu ka?" You know, Barbara's got it. She's not going to say "Ichiban chikai Starbucks wo." No, she knows "Ichiban chikai Starbucks wa doku desu ka?" and she's got it, right? And did you feel bad that I was correcting you again and again, even as an educator? No. So that's part of it. It's she felt comfortable, but our students expect that from us. And so mentors are like, all right, I'm gonna get not a beating, it's gonna come to me today. And they're ready for it. Well, actually, no, they're not, for the most part. They're not ready for what they're gonna get into with this kind of immersion intensive coaching, but they get used to it. And then after that, they're just like, all right, I can, and they're developing thick skin. But you know what, I can do this. So they can handle any challenge, a lot of challenges after
Yeah, it's
that.
kind of like someone made the metaphor of an instrument, right?
Right.
That if you said this, I think you said this to your student, actually. You said, if you play an instrument, they said piano, and they said, well, why don't you treat language learning like a piano? I'm pretty sure your teacher, there's always that strict instrument teacher that you have who teaches you an instrument. I think that's how we approach language.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're going to go into a coffee break and we'll be right back with our next panel speaker. Thanks again for joining us and we'll be right back. Thank you.